Welcome to Mind Your Health podcast, dedicated to empowering you on your journey to optimal wellness. I'm your host, Dr. Connie, bringing over 25 years of experience in psychology, nutrition, physical therapy, functional medicine, and yoga. Together, we'll explore the interconnectedness of mind, body, and spirit, providing you with the practical insights and holistic strategies to elevate your health. Let's dive into today's episode and take a step closer to a healthier, more vibrant you.
Hey guys, welcome to Mind Your Health podcast. And my name is Dr. Connie. Welcome. So today's topic is really important because I've been working with a few clients privately recently, and I recognized a lot of pitfalls in sort of our fitness and wellness world. And that is that we sometimes focus so much on the muscle growth that we forget the fundamentals, the foundational, activational elements that is absolutely required for you to move your body through space without injury for as long as we live. Because functional mobility is one that we need absolutely for longevity and health. And it's one we need to take a little bit more seriously, as well as to approach this yoga practice and this fitness, muscle building with all the rage right now with, muscle growth as well as protein intake. So it brings me to this topic. As I've noticed, even the strongest of my students, they lack the proper activation. And the more seasoned they become in the practice of functional yoga medicine, the more they start to realize that, okay? So number one, I want to kind of mention that mindless yoga can actually harm you, okay? And yoga is not inherently safe. Most people think it's yoga, right? Yes. But it's how you do it that matters. So please listen up, because many people step onto the yoga mat assuming that it is gentle or safe simply because it's not high impact or heavy lifting. But I've seen, like I said, over the years of working with students, that poor mechanics, lack of body awareness, and forcing postures can be just as dangerous as lifting weights improperly. So the key takeaway here is that yoga can heal, but it can also do harm when done without proper understanding of functional movement, core stability, and of course, alignment. Okay? This is super important. Our modern life today is all about poor postural awareness. We're so in our head. In fact, I think our modern day or modern life creates a lot of us who are overthinkers. We live in our heads, not in our bodies. So yoga brings us back home, which is our body. That requires us to be a little bit more aware about how this body, miraculous body, operates and works for you. Okay? Like I said, our modern world disconnects us from our bodies. We live in a world that rewards thinking, doing, and performing. It's all neck up, okay? And it's all these neck up activities takes a toll. And most people are disconnected from their bodies, and this shows up on the yoga mat. I see it all day, every day. Teenagers with alarming postural deficits, rounded shoulders, forward head posture, and collapsed arches of their feet, not to mention the weight gain or obese teenagers these days, despite them doing any kind of competitive sports even, okay? And then there's adults trying so hard to get the posture right that they over effort, okay? Holding breath, clenching, compensating, which actually works against the purpose of yoga. So the key takeaway is that most people are in their heads when they practice yoga or any exercise for that matter. They're not connecting to their bodies. And that disconnection is a root cause of injury and ineffectiveness in practice. So please hone in on that, okay? Number 3 is the difference between mindful activation and muscle tightness. It's so easy to confuse muscle activation with muscle tightness or tension. A lot of yoga students muscle through poses without understanding. Whatever the pose, they want to get into a handstand, they'll do any type of Valsalva maneuver, which is standard practice in weightlifting, I learned, and they just kind of clench through it, which defeats the whole purpose of yoga. The most important thing is core activation. Core activation is gentle, subtle engagement, not clenching or bracing. The moment you clench, you've overfired, you've activated what I call rectus puches. Another name is rectus abdominis. It's that six-pack muscle all of us want, but it's really a cosmetic muscle on the outside. A lot of people that have good six-pack, they might lack core activation, which is a transversus abdominis. It's the deeper muscle that keeps the spine in good posture. It braces, it really activates through everything. In fact, TA should fire first before the rectus abdominis. And many people do all the Pilates and all the yoga and weightlifting, and then they bulge their abs out. You look when you're doing sit-ups, every time you come up, there's a little bit of a bulge on your ab, just working that rectus, right? So that's not effective for activation and core stability. And then there's the elongation of the spine, is active lengthening. And that helps, the TA helps us to activate and lengthen the spine to keep us nice postured and tall. It's active lengthening, not passive collapsing or overarching. This is active. I'm engaged, but I'm not like clenching through to hold this posture versus being here. And this is like completely relaxed, no activation. So know the difference. And then there is the breath, which is the foundation that allows movements to be fluid and connected, not held or forced. Even if you're weightlifting, please question why lift heavy above and beyond if you're going to do Valsalva maneuvering. And then in the thoracic spine, I was taught to arch my back, and I have to completely disagree with this mechanics because it really quiets and forces my TA to completely shut off, which is a dangerous place to be, okay? So keep that in mind. Breath is the foundation that allows movement to be fluid and connected. If you can't move through space with the weights and you can't breathe, you have to and push through, you're doing it wrong. And that's going to pose a lot of issues in the future, including hernias, especially those of you who are men, and herniated discs as a result of it. I've seen it over and over again. Then there's a posture and alignment, which are dynamic and functional, not just hitting a shape. Yoga is not practiced to create a final expression of the pose or get to the final pose, look a certain way. It's more about activating throughout the practice. Key takeaway here is proper activation means recruiting the right muscles in a balanced way, recruiting the right muscles in the right time as well, not just using brute force to get into a pose or lifting, okay? Number 4 is why proper activation and alignments do matter, okay? When students move without understanding how to activate their core, how to elongate through spine, or how to breathe properly, they compensate with wrong muscles, leading to joint strain, overuse, and pain, which increases inflammation in the whole body. Not only that, when you have poor alignment, then everything in the viscera, your autonomic nervous system, where all your organs lie, they get constricted, restricted, and they don't flow as well, okay? It's going to affect your whole health, metabolic system. So when you hold yourself and you don't breathe properly, you end up compensating with the wrong muscles, leading to joint strain, overuse, and pain, like I said, and they reinforce dysfunctional patterns like making everyday movements harder and less efficient. And they miss the therapeutic benefits of yoga because healing happens when body and breath are integrated, not when you're muscling through poses. So the key takeaway here is proper alignment and activation are essential to make yoga a healing practice, not a harmful one. Number 5, heavy lifters versus body aware practitioners like yogis. A tale of two students. I've noticed a stark contrast. Those who come in from a background of heavy lifting or CrossFit even have body awareness because they've been trained to think about form, activation, and function. Okay? On the flip side, many yoga students come in thinking yoga is about stretching and hitting poses, and they lack the connection to core breath and muscular engagement, leading to sloppy, potentially dangerous movements. And then I have those who have never exercised coming in, and those are even better because we don't have any unlearning to do. We can just learn new ways of doing things. So no matter where you are, you're probably on this spectrum somewhere. Don't assume you're doing it correctly. That's why I invite all my instructors, invite all my students to get a private to make sure that they're doing it correctly. And this is what I heavily emphasize in my yoga teacher trainings, in my yoga teacher training programs, as well as our privates that are done by our practitioners at my studio, as well as myself. So key takeaway is that yoga needs to be taught as a functional movement practice, integrating core, posture, alignment, breath, rather than just flowing mindlessly or stretching it out. And it has to have a regulating effect in your whole system, which includes E's. E stands for enteric. A stands for autonomic nervous system regulation. Somatic nervous system is musculoskeletal system. You need to be able to regulate that through breath. And then you come out on the other side, empowered psychology, which is the positive mindset and this idea of taking full responsibility and agency for your own health and your body. Number 6, the myth of yoga is purely healing. And the truth of functional yoga medicine is exactly that, okay? So I'm sorry, I'm going to rephrase this. There's a lot of myths in yoga as purely healing. And what we do is cut through that to make sure you take away the truth of functional yoga medicine as a healing practice. Okay. So functional yoga medicine brings us back to what yoga was meant to be, an integrative, functional way to move, breathe, and align the body for life, for spiritual evolution and growth, not just for class. Without attention to the deep core, like the diaphragm, pelvic floor, and the transversus abdominis and the multifidi in the back, neutral spine and joint stacking, yoga becomes just another way to create imbalance and dysfunction. So be careful when you're going in and doing all the YouTube videos, no matter how great they are, how great the instructors are, unless you get an experience on the adjustments like we do, you're going to always move with a little compensation, and that can add up to big ones in the future to create injury so bad you need a replacement of joints, okay? Total knees, total hips, and rod surgeries for your spine. So key takeaway here is that yoga is healing when it addresses functional movement patterns, not when it's performed as a series of disconnected shapes. So there I have it. All the 6 points were made. And the final thought is the gift of functional movement. Functional movement is a privilege. Moving well with proper muscle activation, breath and alignment, and proper posture is a gift that we're born with. But quickly we lose in modern life. That's why we need to stay vigilant. Yoga, remember, when done right, can restore that gift. But when done mindlessly, it can rob us of it even further. So next time you step on the mat, ask yourself, where is my breath? Am I breathing? No matter how shallow or deep. Number 2 is, am I truly activating the muscles that need to be working or compensating? And how you know that is the spine should be always perpendicular to the pelvic bowl. Sometimes it's leaning forward, learning to use gravitational force as leverage. Remember, your whole body is a lever system with lots of fine muscles. So be ready and be attentive. And then the third thing is, am I in my body or just in my head trying to get the poses right? And then the fourth thing is, am I creating elongation and space or collapsing and forcing? So functional yoga medicine is about bringing you back to that awareness so your yoga practice truly heals, strengthens, and empowers you from the inside out. So please remember that next time you get on the mat. Please remember that when you come and visit us at Functional Yoga Medicine. And remember, we are starting a online yoga membership, Functional Yoga Medicine membership. I'll link the link below. So tune that in, and I'll see you guys all next week. Thanks.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Mind Your Health podcast. I hope you found our discussion insightful and inspiring. Remember, your journey to wellness is a continuous process, and every step you take brings you closer to optimal health. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit. Stay also connected with us on @Dr. Connie Chung on YouTube as well as Instagram for more resources and updates. Until next time, take care of your mind, nurture your body.